All right, welcome to the 7th episode of Just Drinking Problems. We got a pretty special episode, I think. It's one of the major problems in our country. Definitely a just drinking problem for sure. It's going to be on obesity. So not quite a political problem, but definitely a social one.
Yeah.
I think it affects a lot of people all over the country.
All over the world.
Well, yeah, there's definitely obese people all over the world, but what I think makes it such a big deal, and why I want to talk about it, is it's a huge problem in America.
No pun intended.
Yeah, way bigger than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, well, yeah, of course, we're very prosperous, and food is plentiful, and it's cheap, and that's such a great thing. We're like one of the first developed nations. Like, we fucking came up with oil and the internet and the combustion engine. And like, of course we're going to be fat and have all of our triumphs lead to cheap and abundant food. But there's always going to be the bad with the good, right? So obesity is not good. And I think there's a lot of people that'd be like, oh, you're fat shaming, or like live and let live, and like all that shit. While it may be a kernel of truth in all of it, obesity in general is not good. It's a problem. Therefore, we're definitely going to drink about it, but we're also going to discuss it. So do you want to give your opinion or anything you want to say, or you want to jump to some videos? What are you thinking?
So, as far as obesity goes, it is a major problem. As far as in the United States, it's a really big problem, like you said. It's considered a disease, right?
Yeah.
Disease kills.
Okay, that is actually something. So I looked up a little bit before the episode just to kind of brush up on it. I mean, of course, I have opinions on it, but I wanted to bring some amount of facts to the show. And a lot of people do talk about obesity as a disease, but when I think disease, I think an actual disease. Like, you have some type of bacteria, fungus, virus. Like, we gotta take medication to stop an infection. Like, I don't know. Maybe I could look up and see what Webster's definition of disease is. But when I think disease, I do not think fat. Like, when I think fat, I'm like, yeah, I fucking love Whoppers and Big Macs. I like potato salad. I like beer. That's why I have extra pounds. I didn't catch a disease. I don't have leprosy. Like, what the fuck? Are you calling obesity? Why is obesity considered a disease?
Because there's a lot of different components to it. It's not just calories in, calories out. Well, that's, a big portion of it. And that is one way that, obesity kind of just takes over for people. They're taking in more energy than they're using, or consuming more energy as far as, calorie dense foods and whatnot. But there are other components as far as age and how your body, stores fat, your metabolism, hormones, in women versus men. There are genetic components to it that play a role in it. There are other certain diseases that contribute to the like truncal obesity, and meaning like the deposition of fat in your body if you have a certain genetic anomaly. There's all kinds of things. So let's say you were born with Down syndrome, right? And you have trisomy 21 or whatever. It's a genetic thing, right? Would you call that a disease?
Is Down syndrome a disease? Again, I can look up the definition from Webster what a disease is, but to me, Down syndrome is like a birth defect. No one catches Down. I can't, like, oh, I'm gonna go to this concert.
You can't catch hypertension. Hypertension, high blood pressure is a disease.
I'm not gonna go to this concert and contract Down syndrome like I am strep throat. You know what I mean? That's what I think of when I catch a disease. Does anyone consider Down syndrome a disease? Has anyone ever said those two things? And
Look up the definition of disease.
all right, I'm gonna look it up. What? I don't know how to spell disease. Fuck me. All right. A disorder of structure or function of a human, animal, or plant, especially one that has a known cause and a distinctive group of symptoms, signs, and
Anatomical.
Yep, changes. What did you say? Anatomical? Anatomical changes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What the fuck does that mean?
A disorder of structure. So genes are
Structure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Or function. So dysregulation, things don't go like they should, whether it's your blood pressure high or low, things like that in humans, animals, or plants.
Okay, I have a second sentence down here. A particular quality, habit, or disposition regarded as adversely affecting a person or group of people. All right, so sure, maybe I was wrong. It's just not typically what comes to mind. Like,
yeah, and a lot of people think that way.
Like, I could going back to the COVID days, wearing a mask, stopping COVID was bullshit. But like, I think doctors, nurses, medical staff, they wear a mask to try and stop the intake of an infection or a disease, right? But like, I could wear 17 coats over my face. I'm not going to stop catching obesity. You know what I mean? Well, it may stop me from eating, so that is effective. Anyway, that's just not how I consider disease. But clearly, we read the definition. Okay, so sure, I'm going to take a hit on that.
So here's another one. Any harmful deviation from the normal structure or functional state of an organism generally associated with certain signs and symptoms and differing in nature.
Yeah.
From blah, blah, blah.
Okay, sure. So maybe obesity really is a disease. It just...
it can be characterized as one.
Okay, sure. All right. I'm going to take the hit on that. It just sounded like a freaking cop-out originally. All right, so you said a few things. You said age and gender. And yeah,
hormones, metabolism.
Yeah, the older you are, the more hormones come into play, and your metabolism slows down with age, of course. And genders, because newsflash, men and women are different. Believe it or not. And nationality comes into play. Like everything that you are, your DNA that makes you, people have different DNA, and the different DNA makes them predisposed to certain things. And obesity definitely plays a part. I actually put up a website earlier that kind of breaks that down, and we'll definitely look at that. And yeah, man, like you can pull up all of these little minute things that, like, okay, so let's say I was in an accident at work and I broke my back or my leg or my neck. I had surgery and had a plate and screws like put into my spine. My motion is limited and I can't exercise, right? I could be in intense pain just for even attempting that. I'm not going to be running around or working out at the gym, or maybe maybe I just had twins, right? So I'm dealing with 2 babies at the house nonstop. I'm never sleeping. I eat when I can. Like, these babies are driving me crazy, So my habits, my eating habits and sleeping habits are going to change, and that can cause me to gain weight, especially stress due to marital problems or financial problems or wherever stress can come from. That can definitely cause a change in your normal habits or your normal bodily function.
That's hormones.
Okay, sure, that too. But no. I think a lot of people also feel a certain way about certain situations and they eat their feelings. So yeah, habits play a big factor in it.
Yeah.
And all kinds of different situations that can cause somebody to gain weight. You could be on a certain medication, something completely out of your control, can cause you, for the betterment of your life, to take a medication. It just happens to be a side effect of the medication that you retain weight. But overall, like, those are tiny, tiny, tiny percentages of why America's so fucking fat. I mean, 40% of American citizens are considered obese. And we gotta think, we measure obesity from BMI, body mass index, right? And maybe that's not perfect. I have my own arguments on how that's done. But we gotta have some way of measuring it, and that's the way we do it. So for the time being, we can go off of that. And there's people that are underweight, there's people that are normal weight, there's people that are overweight, there's people that are obese, and there's people that are severely obese. So we're not even talking about the what?
I was just morbidly obese is the terminology.
Severely, morbidly, same thing. You big as shit, right? So I'm not even talking about the people that are overweight. I'm talking strictly obese and severe obese, or morbidly obese. That sounds like you're definitely obese. Maybe that's the point. But yeah, 40%. And some people, depending on what sources you go to, claim that this decade, the 2020s, we're going to reach 50%. Half the fucking people in this country are going to be obese. Like, that's a 30 BMI or more. Like, that's pretty fucking bad, man. And sure, like I said, we're on top. Stars and stripes, bitch. We can go anywhere, anytime, and get food. I mean, second dinner at Taco Bell at 2 a.m. Like, hell yeah, America. I'm in support of it. But at the same time, even if you're not considered fat or obese, regardless of your BMI, it affects us all, because obesity leads to a lot of bad things like diabetes, heart disease. I mean, like, some cancers. Like, it can fucking kill you. Just being fat can kill you. So it's a serious issue. But being that so many of us are fat, there's things like it's hard to get doctor's appointments, or hospitals get clogged up, and resulting strictly from people that have problems because they're fat. If they weren't so fat, they wouldn't have those problems. And insurance companies have to pay for that shit, right? It costs money in the healthcare system to be fat. So people that aren't fat pay more for health insurance, right? Like, it affects everybody. Okay. And I do think it's a major problem. I mean, if any other thing affects 40%, possibly more than that, of a population of a nation, like, that's a huge fucking problem. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things I looked up, Thanksgiving. Like, that's literally about eating. It's an American tradition, and I love Thanksgiving. And we do it on Christmas and Easter as well. Family gets together, we all eat. You know, it's a great time, and I never want to change that. But when we start looking at numbers, there's 80 million turkeys a year consumed by Americans just on those 3 holidays. 80 million. That's a lot of fucking big ass birds, man. You know what I mean? That's pretty incredible. And when you think the restaurant industry in a what you got? I was
gonna say what's more incredible is that if you take however many pounds, average turkey's 12 to 14 pounds. What's 80 million times 12 to 14 pounds? That's how many pounds of meat.
I've shot turkeys over 20 pounds, but
no, I know. I'm talking about average from the store.
Yeah.
After they're
just buying the meat, and the bones.
Yeah. So billion pounds? How many?
Yeah, I don't even know what 80.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, we can do the math on that later. But the restaurant industry in America is well over 70 million a year. Sorry, no. I have to look that up again. Hell, I'm gonna look it up.
High number.
Yeah. Because right now I'm thinking, was it billion or million? And that really is interesting to me. All right, so you talk about something while I type.
Like what? You were on a rant there. You got me going about it.
Okay, good job talking.
Hey now. I'm just trying to do the math in my head. So 80 times 10 is 800.
Worst fucking
Million.
computer in the world. This one right here.
Where's your phone?
I know it was 72.8. I just don't remember if it was million or a billion. And that makes a huge fucking difference.
And that'd be a bunch of billion.
You know, I'm crazy. Billion don't make sense. It has to be million.
There's how many? 4 million people? How many
Well,
million people in the United States?
Billion kind of does make sense.
Maybe that was in pounds.
This thing just really froze on us. I'm about to light this thing on fire right now.
Yeah. Anyway, so a lot of fucking birds.
Yeah. Oh no, okay. The reason I got hung up on it, and the reason I think it is billion, and if I'm wrong, somebody can comment that I'm an idiot. But I looked it up earlier and I started thinking, that's an incredible amount of money. And I looked up the GDP of other countries, and Spain, Australia, like they're barely over $1 trillion a year. And they're big westernized nations, right? And in America, we spend almost their whole entire GDP at restaurants. No wonder we're fucking fat. We're rich as fuck, which is great. It's awesome. It's
Wait,
badass.
you went from million to trillion.
No. Okay, so $72.8 billion is how much the restaurant industry in America makes per year.
Okay, I thought you said birds. I was like,
No.
birds.
Restaurant
Okay.
industry.
Got it.
Yeah, no. It was about 80 million turkeys that are consumed in America on Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving per year. But the restaurant industry makes almost $1 trillion a year. And there's, this is pissing me off so much. And there's countries, like allied countries, Western countries, that do barely over $1 trillion a year in all their industries. Like their entire GDP, everything that they do, every way that they make money. And we're almost doing their country's worth of business just in restaurants. That's not including electricity, oil, freaking health, like any way that America makes money, you know? Like there's so many ways that we make money. And that's not including any of those industries. Just our restaurants make almost as much as these entire nations. And like, we're not talking about some pissant nation that no one's ever heard of. Australia and Spain, they're big deals. You know what I mean? Anyway, I thought those numbers really kind of put everything into perspective. When you talk about, like, why is it such an American-only problem? Like, sure, there's fat people everywhere, but not nearly as bad as America.
Right.
And when you start calling it a disease, and it's not fat people's fault, and like all this stuff, like I really think you're talking about exceptions to the rule, not the rule. I think the rule is something you mentioned, calories in, calories out. It's a behavioral problem. We like binging Netflix and eating these highly, highly effective marketed fast foods and processed foods. Like, who don't love freaking Oreos or Pringles and donuts and freaking chicken nuggets and like all this shit? Like, of course we love that shit. It's literally designed and been perfected. It's a fucking food science. Why this shit tastes so good. Why we crave it. Why we want it. And it's cheap. And it's everywhere. Gas stations and grocery stores. Anywhere we go. You know, like, this shit is readily plentiful. Of course we're going to eat it. It's fucking delicious. You know what I mean? But it's not really nutritious. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's shit food. But no one really craves broccoli and apples. And it's like, fuck, I could fuck up an apple right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, that's American as American pie, or American as apple pie. But really, we should say that's American as McDonald's French fries. Regardless, they're called French fries. The part of being American is our food. Like, the Super Bowl comes on, we got all the foods. You know, that's part of it. Super Bowl commercials and Super Bowl food. Like, it's just part of being American is we like to fucking eat. We like big vehicles. Freedom of food. America. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think calories in, calories out, and watching what you eat, that will make you lose weight or maintain a healthy lifestyle. And if that's not for you and you enjoy being 100% American and you're going to put whatever the fuck you want in your mouth, then you go ahead. You do it. Like, freedom. I love it. But on the topic of obesity, I don't take all the excuses as being legitimate. Maybe for some individuals here and there, but for the vast majority, I really think that people are fat because they have behavioral problems. This is basically discipline. Like, I'm no perfect. I don't have a six pack. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm not part of the issue here. Like, clearly I could lose some weight, and I actually am. The past month and a half, I came down like 13, 14 pounds. But we'll get to that. If you eat nutritious food and you eat it for the nutrition, like you eat to live, and you're active, as in if you took in a certain amount of calories and you burn that same amount of calories, you'll never gain weight. If you take in a certain amount of calories and you burn more calories, you're going to lose weight. And it's just that simple. But on the flip side of things, I don't think it's completely everyone's fault that they're fat. Because our bodies developed, they evolved to store fat. Because whenever we're going around picking berries, well, berries don't grow all year round. You know, if we're going around and we're hunting these animals, well, we can't hunt them all anytime we want. Like, it's a challenge, right? So our bodies are designed to store food for when food isn't easily accessible. But, I mean, think about it. Would you agree that oranges don't grow on trees year round? Apples don't grow on trees strawberries, blueberries, cucumbers, tomatoes, like they're seasonal.
Yeah.
But there's not a single fucking day of the year you can't go to Walmart and buy them motherfuckers. We've perfected food. We are so good at surviving, we're killing ourselves doing it. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, I can go in and get any fruit or vegetable any time of the year. Walmart's open 24/7. Literally any time of the year, I can go and buy whatever the fuck I want. Even though it doesn't naturally grow that time of year. I'm not sad about it. Like, that's fucking awesome. Humans are so fucking good at keeping food and feeding ourselves that we do it too good and we're hurting ourselves. So I don't completely blame people because it's in our nature to store fat. Or it's our body's nature to store fat. And hell, you know, who doesn't want to be satisfied immediately? Immediate satisfaction. That's like part of living a good life. You know what I mean? You're smirking. I don't know, why are you smirking?
What did you just say? Immediate what?
Immediate satisfaction.
Gratification.
Yeah, that. Immediate gratification. It's so, you know what the fuck I'm talking about.
You.
I'm making up words, okay?
It's all good.
You get my point.
Uh-huh.
Like, basically anytime I want, I can have a beer and a pizza, and beer and a pizza makes me happy. And I can watch new kick-ass show on the TV, and I can kick my feet up on the couch. Hell, I might finish that beer and pizza and pass the fuck out right there and be happy as hell. Nothing wrong with that. But if I do that every night, whose fault is it if I'm fat as fuck? It's my fault. Everything in moderation. That's my whole fucking argument. Moderation. Right? There's a lot of things I love. But if I do them excessively, it's not going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? I love drinking. Right?
Clearly.
I love women. Like, if I do that out of moderation, like, we're going to have some problems, right? You can agree on that. So, when it comes to food, I love food just as much as the next person. Right? But it's moderation, and that's what makes the difference between being healthy and not healthy. So I don't take any excuses for the general population of being that fucking fat, other than it's a behavioral issue. You got bad habits. You don't take care of yourself. You're fucking fat. I'm not hating on you. I think you're fucking free to do whatever the hell you want to do. But I'm not going to be like, oh, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
You're not going to encourage it.
Lay's is too fucking good at marketing to you. Fucking fuck Papa John's. They should not make pizza that delicious. You know what I mean? Fuck McDonald's for having a McDonald's everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
In a drive-thru, I can get fucking shit out of a window and never get out of my car? I gotta get out of my car if I really gotta take a shit.
Cycle.
Yeah, like you're fat because you made yourself fat. That's
yeah.
That's it.
I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree to an extent. I don't know what the percentages are or the numbers are.
We can look at them. You want to look at them?
No. I mean, as far as
we're going to look at them. Later.
Calories in, calories out versus all of the things, all the other things that could potentially make it harder. I'm not saying that they couldn't lose weight, but where they store it, how long it takes them to lose, what they have to do to lose, like.
Sure, that's different for everybody.
Right.
I'll give you that.
But if you're looking at it from a genetic component, for example, if you have one parent who's obese, you're 4 times more likely to be obese than someone who has parents who are not obese. If both of your parents are obese, tenfold. And again, while that does play into habits and things and, obviously the food choices and this, that, and the other, if you're looking at genetic components as far as population goes, so race and ethnicity play a role in that too. Again, and it may be based on the types of food they eat and this, that, and the other.
There's a cultural aspect to it.
Right. I get that. But then there's a lot of things that we can't quantify and can't identify and can't name for me to be able to say, yes, it's because you overeat and that's the only reason why you're fat. You know?
Okay, I like that you're kind of on the other side of the fence. Like you're kind of giving them a defense. We don't completely 100% agree. It makes it more interesting for the show. But would you or would you not agree that majority of people are fat because they made themselves fat and they don't have an excuse?
That's what I'm saying. I can't quantify that number. I don't know. I think it plays a huge role in it. Absolutely.
Because I look, America, right? We're by far the only country that has the most diversity. We have a portion of every single type of people that there is in our country that are citizens. Yeah. And for us to be by far the fattest fuckers on the planet compared to all the other countries, there's a reason for that. And all the reason, whether they're medical or they're cultural or whatever, there's no solid excuse why we're way fatter than everybody else, other than the fact that we do it to ourselves. Because we really like to fucking shove food in our face.
Yeah, it's become
behavioral.
A reason to get together to, let's go have dinner. Like social aspect of eating, all of that stuff, it's what you do. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That
it's part of our culture to eat obsessively. That's all I'm saying. But if you happen to be obese or overweight or interested in losing weight, and like I said earlier, I'm trimming down, looking better in the mirror.
Looking good.
And I did it through, and if you noticed the shirt, Freedom Weight Loss Clinic. Or she got one on too. She got the tank top. I got the t-shirt. Freedom Weight Loss Clinic or freedomwlc.com. If you live where we live, or in the state we live in, or 11 other states, it's not all over the country yet. It's working on it. It's growing. It's actually, it's launching. It's a new business, new weight loss clinic, completely online. It's launching today. Today. Now, of course, I'm kind of in it, so I was able to get early access. And what they do is they take patients or appointment requests on their website, and then they approve them, and they set up a time, and you do your documents, and you do a virtual visit, so basically a video chat, and you
with a medical provider.
Yes, and the payment process, everything is completely online. You can literally do it all from your phone. Super convenient. You can literally not get off the couch. You can still be eating your potato chips and beer and go through this whole process if you really wanted to. The medication's shipped to your house like in about a week. And anything you want to know, you can check their social media accounts. It's super easy, and you can compare their prices to their competitors. They're going to be cheaper, and they're definitely going to be more convenient. And it works. They sell semaglutide, which is the same drug as Ozempic or Wegovy.
Generic or Ozempic and Wegovy,
Yeah. So they also have that, and they have an injectable form. If you don't like needles because they're pokey and scary, they have an oral, a tablet form.
Not as effective, but still works.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people use the injectable form, but some people don't like needles.
Yeah.
So if you just have a fear of needles, you're not out the woods on that. You also have trizepatide, which is more expensive and more effective.
Trizepatide.
Whatever. Anyway, damn good people at Freedom Weight Loss Clinic, and definitely helping to solve a huge American problem.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're in 12 states, and they're working on expanding and growing to more states. That kind of stuff takes time, but completely online, completely convenient, and cheap compared to competitors.
Everything you need to take the medication, to draw it up, to give it to yourself, shipped directly to your door.
Yeah, all supplies included. You can also call them or email them if you have any questions, and we're definitely huge supporters. and like I said, like I've been losing weight, and I think that I'm not exactly a complete sedative person. Like I like hitting the treadmill like a true fucking hero. But I did that. I did that before I got on semaglutide, and it just wasn't as effective as I hoped it would be. I spent a lot on that fucking treadmill too. But once I did that, man, it changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't experienced any side effects.
But there are a few that you can.
Yeah, and I'll explain all that to you. But I think Freedom Weight Loss Clinic and others that sell semaglutide and tirzepatide, they're gonna change the weight of this nation.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a wave that's coming through. It's getting more and more popular every day. More people are hearing about it. More people are interested in it. More people are getting on it and having amazing results. And it's really making a huge difference.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, go to freedomwlc.com. I'll have it in the description below, and check them out because it's a big fucking deal. Do you have anything on that? Okay, cool. I am going to pull up this website. So some of the things we mentioned already: percentage of adults with obesity. It says we're actually fatter in 2018 than we are in 2021. That's interesting. I figured we would, like, of course, this is a little bit dated, 2021 compared to now 2023, but
you see this right here, 2020.
Yeah.
COVID started to rise again.
Yeah.
2021 is when semaglutide came out. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. June of 2021, semaglutide was FDA approved.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's why that dip right there?
let's just say they can't even keep up with the demands as far as
Well, they were having a problem.
they still are.
Well, compounding pharmacies were having a problem, but that's getting solved now. Like we said, whether you go to freedomweightlossclinic.com or our competitor, like you're going to get your medication in about a week or sooner. It is interesting though. Obviously, this graph has nothing to do about it. It doesn't say anything about weight loss drugs, but I think in the past, the weight loss drugs, because there've been weight loss clinics around for a long time. I actually went to one like years ago. I was trying to get a six pack the easy way, but I couldn't do it because I was getting drug tested at my job.
Yeah.
And they literally prescribed you like amphetamines.
Stimulant medication.
Like it was fucking crazy. I couldn't even take it. It was fucking me up. Like I was just, and of course I could pop hot on a drug test. Like once I took the first one, and like all you gotta do is walk in there. They're gonna give it to you. Like there was like it was the shadiest shit ever. But it was speed. Yeah. Basically, you put your body on speed, you burn more calories, you lose weight. But that can't be healthy at all. That was crazy.
It's not for long-term use either. So as soon as you stop taking those medications, you're going to gain it back. You're going to put, excess stress on your heart. You're going to just make everything worse. And then you're going to get fat again and,
do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was shit. All right. So that's a little graph over the past few years. About almost the past 20 years. But by age. So we're looking here, 18-24, way down here at the bottom, about 20%. 65 or older, which I would think would be the fattest people, because you would think, well, you're shaking your head no, but just going off of my mind, when I think old people, I think they're sitting on the front porch, or they're sitting in front of the TV, or they're sitting at the bingo hall, wherever they're doing, they're sitting. Like, you don't see a bunch of old fuckers running around. Yeah. Like, they're not playing sports, or they're not out, working on shit. Like, old people are sedentary. I guess they don't eat as much. I don't know, but
so from I think 60 on, your weight actually declines as you age. You lose bone mass and all of that stuff too.
So you're literally dying alive.
I mean, yeah.
But I guess on the positive side, you're gonna be a little less on the scale. So whatever.
But that's why you see that number.
25-34 down here. You got 35-44, 55-64, and really at the top, 45-54. That's the fattest. Mm-hmm. So if you're in your mid-40s to your mid-50s, statistically, you're more likely to be a fat fucker.
I'm curious as to the gender at that age. Because when you think about like menopause,
let's go to the women, gender.
Yep.
Here, wow, from 2005 to 2018, chicks were way fatter than dudes. I don't know what the fuck happened, but then according to this graph, and this is usafacts.org, normally when things are .org, like you could kind of trust them.
Yeah, it's from the census.
Okay, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Okay, from the fucking CDC. This is federal government. Mm-hmm. So if there is a graph or data to be trusted, this is probably the closest we're going to get. Now,
I mean, that's assuming that people didn't lie on their census report.
Okay, true. And if you looked into the CDC at all during the COVID so-called pandemic, their reputation got tarnished hard.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of shit went haywire during that time. But I'm just going to go ahead and say this is pretty accurate data. Like I believe it. Anyway, 2019. The chicks went to Hot Bitch Summer and hit that treadmill and that elliptical or something, because they dropped down significantly, and they almost met even with males in 2020 and 2021. Females are less fat than males, I guess. But overall, males and females went up in weight. The trend was going up from the early 2000s to the early 2020s. People are getting fatter, regardless of what's in your pants, of your gender.
Yeah.
So that's your gender. Let's go educational status. I did look at this earlier, and I find it pretty interesting. So you got less than high school education, about 36.8. High school education, 36.7. So less than high school and high school. So whether you graduated high school, you dropped out, if that was the extent of your education, you're about the fucking same. Some college or technical school, 34.9. I call that 35. So you're a percentage two or somewhat under the high school people. But college grads are way down here at 25% compared to over 35%, 36, 38, 35. Like, that's crazy.
Really?
I mean, I think humans are humans, right? We're all capable of gaining or losing weight at the same amount. So why does education level have such a big, like, it don't explain it. It's
No.
just tracking the data. So why does education level have such a big influence on your weight?
I think it has to do more so with socioeconomic status. So you're more likely to go to college if you have the money to pay for college. You're more likely to eat healthy and have a gym membership and do all the things if you have the money to do so. And you're not eating ramen every night for dinner. I think it's more, like money than it is necessarily the college degree.
That makes sense. So if you can afford to live a certain lifestyle, you can afford to have the free time to go to the gym, you can afford to go to the gym, or you can afford gym-like equipment in your home. You probably came from some status of money, and mommy and daddy helped you go to college. Like, sure, some people get full rides because they're gifted with talent to get some type of scholarship, but most people have mommy and daddy or scholarships of some sort.
I wouldn't say most, but to an extent, they.
You don't think most college students have parental support? Because even if you have a full ride, like, normally that's just your tuition. There's all kind of fucking fees. You got dormitory fees, book fees, parking fees, like all kind of fuck. It's expensive. You still gotta eat, right? Meal plans at universities are expensive as shit. You gotta have money, and when you're 18, 19, 20, you don't have fucking money. Especially if you're spending most of your time actually making good grades in college. You gotta have mommy and daddy helping you out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when our kids get to that age, I fully intend on helping them. As long as they're making the grades, I don't mind helping them, because I don't see at all how you can be a good college student making good grades and afford it. Like, that's practically impossible. Now, if they want to go to a certain school because of the sports team or the party life that's associated with that campus, or anything other than you're going to the school because you're interested in this career path and they have the best program, I ain't paying for shit. Like, I'm paying for education. I'm not paying for you to have a good time. Fuck you. You can go, like, do anything else and afford your own good time. But regardless, that's a parenting topic. I think there's a lot of money involved with college.
Okay.
And there's a lot of
that.
parental help. Because normally, like practically always, parents have a lot more money than their umpteen-year-olds, children. That's there's nothing wrong with that. That's the norm in society for people in their 30s, 40s, 50s to have more money than people in their 20s. That's probably the way it should be. Anyway, I do like what you said, that because it's true. If you go to Walmart right now and you try and get healthy food, that shit's expensive as fuck. Like, I could have way more money if I eat shittier.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shitty.
Agreed. And to mention, the more they process food, the more of those nutrients that our bodies actually need
It's taken
processed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're buying Twinkies and Lay's potato chips, Doritos and shit, like, that's not nutrients.
No, that's empty calories.
Yeah, that shit just tastes good, but you're just storing a bunch of fucking fat in your body.
And God knows what else.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But let's go, because you brought it up earlier, race and ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm not hating on nobody. But if you're Hispanic, you're probably fat. According to this graph. I mean, way over here, which is strange because they've been trending down. Everybody else been trending kind of up. But Hispanics, overall, are kind of the heaviest. And they got non-Hispanic Asian and any other group, or AIAN. That's not Asian.
I think it's supposed to be Asian. They just forgot an S or something.
I don't know, because they spelled Asian right down here and they didn't capitalize all the letters. Whatever that means.
It's
I
Asian.
don't.
There is no other ethnicity that.
Yeah, I don't get it. But Hispanics, maybe it has something to do with their DNA, their ancestry, their culture. Who knows? But they heavy. Non-Hispanic, white only. They're pretty fucking heavy. At 33.4%. Non-Hispanic American, Indian, Alaska Native only. How big of a group is that? That don't make any sense. Other single and multiple races, they're kind of in the middle. Non-Hispanic, Black, African Americans, they're way kind of down towards the bottom at 31%. And non-Hispanic, Asian only. Of course, Asians are kind of skinny. I think when I think of an Asian person, I don't picture a fat Asian. Like normally they're kind of just skinny. Like if you walked into a public place and you saw an Asian, most likely they're skinny. And that's what I've witnessed in my life. Yeah, I'm not making stereotypes. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So regardless of how accurate or not accurate this graph is, clearly your ethnicity can play a role. Okay. This is way more interesting, I think. If you go by the map, it kind of shows where the most fat people live. So if you're in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Virginia, or South Dakota, you're probably fat. Which is I don't know what the fuck South Dakota's doing up here. But down here in the South, like
we like to eat.
Yeah, we got crawfish bowls, we got soul food.
What, Florida was like, I ain't playing this game? What?
Yeah, they're literally, Florida's the only state that has no data. And probably because nobody took the survey, because they're all like jacked up on meth and shit. Yeah, you ever heard of Florida Man? Google Florida Man stories. You will be entertained for the rest of your life. Florida be crazy. They're always like eating people's faces and doing crazy shit, throwing alligators and motherfuckers. Like, Florida's crazy. I don't know why, but for some reason there's absolutely no data on Florida. Colorado's looking good, 25%. That's decent.
Yeah.
What I really don't understand, I don't know, I guess it makes sense. Look at New York, New Jersey, California, Washington.
What do you think when you see Hawaii?
I don't know. Like, how many actual people are on Hawaii? What do they eat? Coconuts? Fuck Hawaii. Anyway, look at California, New York, Washington, all like the super liberal states. Like, they're kind of skinny, according to this graph. And it kind of makes sense because, like, they're scared of gluten, whatever the fuck that is. Watch out. Fucking gluten right there, motherfucker, about to get me. And they're eating plants and shit because they don't want to eat animals because they're retarded. Maybe that helps them not be fat. So, like, that's a point for them, I guess. Because I'm from the South, and I love the South, but we fat as fuck, looks like.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to take over the mouse real quick. Yeah. I'm going to go by state. I'm going to just clear this up real quick. If you live in West Virginia, Kentucky, Alabama, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, South Dakota, Ohio, Missouri, Iowa, Indiana, South Carolina, Texas, or Kansas, more likely than none, you fat as fuck, according to this graph. Man, Kentucky and West Virginia, they're over 40%. That's who's bringing down our national average. Hey, if you're from West Virginia or Kentucky, get your shit together. What the fuck are y'all doing? Kentucky Fried Chicken. I can't blame them for that. That shit's delicious. It is. If I lived in Kentucky, I might eat that 3 times. I probably could. I mean, I'd probably die in like 2 weeks, but eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, some good Kentucky Fried Chicken, 3 meals a day. That shit's so good. Like, I could probably live on sushi and fried chicken. I love it. That's probably why I need to be on semaglutide. That and alcohol.
I was gonna say, speaking of that, Louisiana, South Dakota, Iowa.
Yeah, what are we?
Freedom
1,
Weight
2,
Loss
3,
Clinic.
4, 5, 6, 7. We're 7th in Louisiana. If you didn't know, we're clearly from Louisiana. All right. Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head who Freedom Weight Loss Clinic, like what states Freedom Weight Loss Clinic can take patients from?
Yeah, Louisiana, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, North Dakota, New Mexico, Maryland, Delaware, Idaho, Arizona.
Did you say Louisiana?
I did. New Hampshire, and Colorado.
Okay. Unfortunately for Freedom Weight Loss Clinic, Colorado's looking pretty good. There's gotta be some fat people in Colorado, though. They just ain't climbing the mountains. You know what it is? Actually, it don't make sense. Because Colorado legalized weed. I know motherfuckers smoking weed get the munchies. Maybe they're eating kale when they get the when they get the munchies. Give me some more of that broccoli and lettuce.
But how many Coloradians?
Coloradians?
Colorado, whatever you want to call them.
Fuck I
Like,
know.
how many of them you think like go outside and ski? That's a fucking workout.
Hell yeah.
Probably a good majority of them.
And I'm saying that like I ever skied before.
Right?
I've never skied. And it's actually on my bucket list. I want to ski and I want to snowboard because the most snow I've ever seen, which is really fucking depressing, is like 2.5 inches of snow in Louisiana. Yeah, I need to get out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I've been to like 7 different countries, but for some reason, I've never seen the most snow I've ever seen was in Louisiana. And Louisiana don't get fucking snow, but like once every like 5 years.
Maybe that.
Yeah, maybe. And most I've ever seen was like 2.5 inches, and it was spotty. Like you can kick some together, like look, it's like almost 3 inches.
It was like an Iceman instead
How many
of a
times have I
snowman.
said that? Anyway.
Anyway, okay, back to the topic. Are we done with this map?
Yeah. That's pretty much all the fuck that this website had. Fat people are funny. A lot of people are sensitive.
Right?
That's all they got in the personality?
No.
Burn!
No.
Anna, what happened to you standing up for them, being on the side of the fence and being all sweet and shit? You just burned fat people. Look at you, with all your skinny privilege over there.
Shut up.
All right. No, but I say fat people are funny. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not hating on fat people. If you're offended by the fact that I said that, I mean you personally. But anybody's offended, fuck them. But being fat is kind of funny. A lot of freaking movies, when you look at the comic relief, most of the time those characters are fat. And someone who really capitalizes on that, someone who's actually really funny, is Ricky Gervais. How do you say that? Did you just sneeze and laugh? You have to break the matrix over there. You okay?
Yeah. Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais. He's British. Who fucking cares? He's British. Anyway, this dude's hilarious. And he has, like, a really funny bit. Alright, this is Editing Blake. And just put this message in here to let y'all know that YouTube made me delete about 5 minutes of this episode due to a claim of copyright infringement. Much bullshit, but just letting y'all know that a gap of this show was taken out, so if it kind of seems weird, that's because it's missing a piece. But if you want to watch the whole thing, you can go to Rumble and look up Just Drinking Problems and see the whole episode, because Rumble's super chill about that, but YouTube isn't. Anyway, back to the original episode. Next up, spoiler alert. Actually, I don't think they can read that. But anyway, so the point I was trying to make is, I don't know what point I was trying to make, but
that it's a behavioral choice.
Yeah, yeah, man. You can get offended by it if you want to, but I
Yeah,
still
I
think
mean,
majority of
to an
people they're
extent, you're
fat because
right.
they do it to themselves.
I don't know those percentages, so it's hard to agree. I do think it's probably a larger number than I would like it to be, meaning,
As in,
I would,
most people don't have a legitimate reason why they can't help themselves as uncontrollable without the fact that they're fat, other than the fact that they ate too much and they're too sedentary. Calories in, calories out. Eat less, move around more. If you want to have a fucking workable diet plan, if you want to be in better shape, eat less, move around more. That's the best fucking advice anyone's ever fucking said ever. I didn't come up with it, but if I did, fucking genius. That's it. Eat less, move around more. Plain and simple.
okay. I'm curious what this other guy has to say.
This other guy, this other like super famous dude.
Not him, the doctor.
Oh yeah. Obviously he has like super smart people that come on his podcast, and this happens to be the most popular podcast slash show that I totally didn't base this show off of in any way, shape, or form, but I did. Joe Rogan.
I have friends that are pretty overweight, and one that died pretty recently who was really big. And he just had this feeling when he would meet people. I mean, he talked about it a little bit. He was just obese. You know, it was just this thing where you're just, oh, look at this enormous fat guy. And then to go from that to, oh, there's a guy. There's a normal guy. That's just a guy. It's a 168-pound guy. Normal. No difference between him and
I
anybody
gotta
else.
tell you, I know we love to beat up on fat people. We love to turn it into a character defect. But I gotta tell you, virtually every fat person that I know or that I've taken care of, they are not disproportionately eating more than their peers. In some cases, yes, but not on balance. The problem is that they simply do everything incorrectly metabolically. You know,
So their body is functioning incorrectly.
yeah, and it's
And it's
I think there's a
exacerbated by
genetic
their diet.
component. I think there are dietary exacerbations. I think certainly not exercising makes things worse. So there are lots of predisposing factors. But at the end of the day, what's happening is when you and I eat, like let's take a meal that like if you had pancakes, bacon, and scrambled eggs, that would be like a really good mix of that'd be a third carbs, a
Yummy.
third protein, a third fat. So that's like a shit ton of nutrient, right? If you or I ate that, yeah, it probably wouldn't be that good for us. But like let's say we just finished a workout or something. Like we're going to partition such that that glycogen will first and foremost go to replace the muscle and liver stores of glycogen. Because we have bigger muscles and our muscles are more insulin sensitive, we can actually disproportionately put more glycogen into our muscles, into the leg muscles, because you'll have done that run up the hills, right? And then furthermore, when we want to recruit energy again, we'll have the ability to actually go back and get fat, in other words, break down fat at lower ATP demands than necessarily always going to glycogen. So in other words, we partition fuel in a smarter way. And these patients, I mean, you can measure this clinically using something called RER and of course doing other blood tests. Like they can't break down their own fat.
So their body is essentially broken in that regard, and that can be fixed with diet.
It's a hard problem because the way I explain it to people is, and I'm so clinically, I'm not interested in weight loss, right? I mean, that's just not. I'm much more interested in longevity, and yes, sometimes weight loss comes with that. But I like if I ever get stuck doing weight loss, like I'm doing the wrong thing for my interest. But the way I say to people when they want to lose weight is, look, you don't want to lose weight, you want to lose fat. Let's be very clear on our semantics. Weight is irrelevant. Right, unless you're a cyclist or some athlete for whom the actual scale means something. But for people like us, it's you want to lose fat, not weight. And then when you say you want to lose fat, what does that mean in English? Well, do you want fewer fat cells or do you want each fat cell to be smaller? Those are totally different questions. If you want fewer fat cells, have liposuction. But we know that doesn't fix you metabolically. So if you want to be less fat, you have to have smaller fat cells. Now, a fat cell conceptually has two inputs and one output. So now I say, let's reframe the question. You got a room with 100 people in it. You want fewer people in the room. What has to happen? More people have to leave the room than enter the room. So similarly, if you have a fat cell and you want it to be less fat, you got to get more fat out of it than enters it. And the fat that exits the cell exits via a process called lipolysis. And the inputs to a fat cell are something called de novo lipogenesis, which is turning carbohydrates into fat, and reesterification, which is turning fat, like in a free fatty acid, into a triglyceride back into a fat cell. Each of those three doors is controlled by hormones. And so the purpose of nutrition or fasting or exercise or drugs or...
All right, I'm gonna pause it real quick. Why are you looking at me smiling?
Because I feel like I said a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, well, he's saying a lot of stuff I don't quite understand.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, he's obviously getting into a lot of detail.
But it seems like he's kind of on the fence, like, you're fat, but it's not your fault. Right?
Well, I don't think he's saying it's not your fault. He literally said, obviously, yes, that plays a role in it. I think he's looking at the whole picture. Because, I mean, how many fat people, like, actually go and have blood work done and do all the things to figure out maybe they're insulin resistant, or, you know, they have prediabetes or high cortisol levels, or they're low in estrogen, or whatever the case, you know, that is contributing to all of these things. They have hypothyroidism, and they eventually, yeah, I'm sure it probably does get figured out, you know, by the time it's so far gone they need medicine and everything. And by that point, it's extremely difficult to lose the weight by just exercising and eating healthy. They've just fucked their whole system.
Okay. Well, being that clearly, obviously, I'm an expert on all that shit that you just said and what he just said. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck any of that shit means. I think there is a in-depth science to it, but none of this convinces me that it's not a behavioral issue more than anything else, because I know, like, I'll never do it again. That shit was wild. But I went 5 days without eating and without sleep. It's not because I was on some kind of fucking bender or something. It was a training program that I went through, and it was super sucky. That shit sucked. But if somebody goes without eating, their body is going to eat themselves. You're going to take away from your fat storages. Now, sure, you'll also eat some of your muscle and some of your bone, and whatever your body needs is going to take from whatever it has to continue surviving. But no matter what, unless you are just some off-the-wall case...
What does your body do as soon as you start eating again?
It starts storing fat.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure, it's designed to. I get it. But if you're feeding your body the nutrients it needs, but you're not accessing in your caloric intake, you have a caloric deficit, is what I'm saying. You eat healthy, so you get the nutrients that your body requires, but you're burning more calories than you take in. You're going to burn fat. You're going to weigh less, especially if you're lifting weights. Because you're lifting weights and you're building that muscle, your body burns more calories to build that muscle. Working out and eating healthy means you're going to be in a better shape. You're going to be more fit. You're going to have less fat. It's been that way for like ever.
Yeah. I'm not
And I'm
debating that.
I'm sure there's a lot of fucking science that goes into it. I'm sure this dude, I don't know who he is, but he sounds like a doctor. I'm sure he knows a lot about a lot of medical stuff, and he's probably 100% correct. But overall, the reason that there's 40% of American citizens who are obese, not even overweight, but obese, is all because of personal decision. Outside of the realm of moderation and their food intake. And not only just the amount of food they're eating, but the food that they are eating is shit. It's not nutritious. It's fattening. It's empty calories, as in it has no nutrition, has no benefit. It doesn't have the nutrients that the body needs to function and to build muscle and to keep on doing what the normal active functions of the body and the resources that the body needs to do those functions. It's just trash, right? It's like most of the shit comes out of fucking corn because corn's cheap, right? So like all your potato chips and your processed foods and all this shit is made with a bunch of trash, and you just consume it in excess. So your body don't know what to do with this shit, and it stores it, and you get fat. So the reason why America is fatter than the rest of the world is because we eat trash and we eat too much of the trash. But, I mean, we're what? A little over halfway this video. Would you like to finish what this guy's saying?
Sure.
Because he's not convincing me yet, but we'll give him a chance.
Hormones or all these things, is to manipulate those hormones in the direction of what I call negative fat flux, or what would be referred to in the literature as fat balance, negative fat balance. And the hormones that drive that are many. Insulin, hormone-sensitive lipase, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol being the 5 most important, in my opinion. Maybe someone will disagree with that, but I think those are the 5 that rule the roost. And so, how do you manipulate those? Well, insulin seems to be the most important of the 5, and there's no better way to lower insulin than to not eat. So the first thing that happened to that dude who went 382 days without anything but water and minerals is he basically had very low insulin levels. In fact, once he got into raging ketosis, which he got into by about day 7, his insulin came up only to prevent him from going into ketoacidosis, which was what would happen if he had no insulin response. In other words, if he was a type 1 diabetic, he would have died of ketoacidosis because he wouldn't have had the insulin to regulate the uptick of ketones. But if you or I did this, because we have a normal pancreas, we would actually make just enough insulin to suppress ketogenesis and keep that beta hydroxybutyrate level in the, kind of in the neighborhood of probably 7 or 8 millimolar, as opposed to getting north of 12 to 15, which is when you get into trouble. So,
I understate it.
How do you manipulate insulin? Nutrition is the first way. If you can't fast, the next best thing is to reduce carbohydrates. Carbohydrates obviously are the most insulinogenic of food, although protein can be quite insulinogenic as well. It has a different response. And then that's when you start to think about these other things. I've seen patients where they just can't lose weight. And I watch what they're doing, and they're doing everything right, but they just can't lose weight. But then you notice their cortisol levels through the roof. It's hard to get rid of fat when you have lots of cortisol. Cortisol is a
stress hormone.
Very anabolic hormone to fat and a very catabolic hormone to muscle, which is the exact opposite of what we want. Testosterone, of course, is the exact opposite. Testosterone is catabolic to fat, but anabolic to muscle. And then, of course, women have a harder time because once women go through menopause, they lose all the estrogen and all the testosterone. And so now they lose 2 hormones that play a very important role in regulating this.
So for these people that are having the issue with cortisol levels, that's exacerbated by stress, right?
Yes.
So stress actually exacerbates your weight gain.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's interesting.
In addition to a whole bunch of other
diet,
stuff.
You could literally eat the same diet and gain more weight because of stress.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But kind of like what we were talking about
Again,
earlier.
hormones are what's driving fuel partitioning. You're responsible for what you put in your mouth. But in many ways, at that point, like the hormones take over and decide where it's going.
Wow.
If my
Okay. Commercial. All right, well, that was the end of that video. So basically, he said a lot of stuff that was clearly over my head. But he sounded very convincing, too. Like, clearly that dude knew what the fuck he was talking about. And the human body is very complex. And I'm sure he was absolutely right in everything he was saying. But I've done it myself, man. Like, I've tried multiple ways of losing weight and been successful in multiple ways. So I've strictly just reduced my caloric intake. I've counted calories. I've downloaded the app and I lost weight. And I've tried Optavia. I've tried Nutrisystem, and all those things worked for me. I lost weight because basically I'm getting the nutrition I need, but I'm cutting down on my caloric intake, and I lost weight. And maybe that's because I was healthy enough to do those things, and that's why they worked for me. And then maybe if I had certain medical conditions, I couldn't. Or if I was on certain medications that wouldn't allow me to participate in some of those diets, then maybe it'd be different. But I still think that's such a small percentage of the general population that it's not even a true argument.
I'm gonna look up something.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. I don't think you've ever done that. You gotta click it in order to activate it. There you go. If it's lit up, it's working. Good luck, because I tried looking up something earlier and this computer is a piece of shit. Okay, maybe it'll work for you. So I think he's right, and I think there are people out there that can do everything that modern science can tell us to do to lose weight, and it just don't work for them. I still don't think that's the truth for the vast amount of people. I think if the vast amount of people cut back on what they put in their mouth, they would naturally lose weight. So what'd you find? So you Googled what percentage of Americans are on mood stabilizers.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We haven't talked about that.
These are one of the categories of medications that can significantly cause weight gain.
Are mood stabilizers?
Yeah, so like your antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, things like that.
Okay. So there's a significant portion of our population that are on mood stabilizers because they have issues with depression and anxiety. And those medications that they take to deal with those issues could make it harder for them to lose weight or make it more likely that they gain weight.
Yeah. A side effect of these medications in people who take them more often than not is weight gain.
Okay. Well, that's shit, dude.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think I would rather be in a mindset that I can enjoy my day than worry about gaining weight. I'd rather be happy and fat than not happy at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. During 2015 to 2018, 13.2% of adults aged 18 and over used antidepressant medications in the past 30 days. All right, so it's over 10%. I mean, that's a significant number, right? Next bullet, antidepressant use increased with age. Overall, and in both sexes, use was highest among women aged 60 and over. 24 points. Okay, so you're talking about quite elderly people, and then only females. Antidepressant use was higher among non-Hispanic white, 16.6% adults compared to non-Hispanic black. Do we have Hispanic white and Hispanic black people? 7.8%, Hispanic 6.5%, and non-Hispanic Asian 2. Why is Hispanic the rubric here? We have non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black.
I have no idea.
Hispanic.
Another episode. You can talk about it later.
I don't know. It just kind of throws all the numbers off for me. Like, is that how we judge people with their percentage of Hispanic heritage in their DNA or ancestry? That's weird. All right, so around 10%, give or take, depending on where you're male or female and how much Hispanic you have in you, it could have an effect on your overall weight. Based off if you have a problem with bipolar, depression, anxiety, shit like that. So, I mean, we kind of touched on that earlier. Mm-hmm. Like, there's legitimate excuses for people that are overweight because they're forced to take a medication to make their quality of life reasonable. But it's not a legitimate excuse why America is overall the fattest nation on the planet. And while 40% of us currently, and climbing to possibly 50% in this decade, half the fucking people in this nation being considered obese. Not even overweight, but obese. Maybe I'm closed-minded, but, and we could probably Google and research this forever. But I think it's going to boil down to the fact that I believe that is mostly a behavioral issue. Because when you talk about, well, it's only females, or people over 60, or people that take this type of medication because of these issues, or whatever, like, we have obese children in elementary school that are obese. Like, how do you explain that? They don't deal with depression or anxiety or bipolarness, or they're definitely not over 60, and they may not be on any medication whatsoever. Like, I think that's because they like Coke, and they like candy, and they like donuts, and they like fast food, and they like potato chips, and they like what the fuck ever they're eating.
Yeah.
And I blame that on their parents. I'm not saying it's their fault. But it still goes back to the fact that they're a human being and they're taking in a lot more calories than they need to survive. Therefore, their bodies store those calories in the form of fat.
Absolutely.
And that's the majority of the problem.
It's the majority that keeps getting me. I can't quantify all the other numbers and things like that. There's a lot of different things that play a role in it. I'm not saying you don't have a point whatsoever. I would say at least half of that is probably related to overeating and behavior,
So you're willing,
or at the very least, I would say that the contributing factor, it's definitely a contributing factor to all obesity. I'm sure at some point these people were overeating and doing all the things wrong, and it was a behavioral thing, and then became sedentary. And then obesity leads to a lot of other chronic conditions.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's painful to work out, you get osteoarthritis and joint pain. So it just contributes and makes it even harder for them to get the weight off. And then they're aging, and then, all of these things just compound on each other.
Yeah.
So while behavior may have played a role initially, I can't say that it's the majority of every case. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I see where you're coming from. I don't agree.
And that's
but
okay.
I understand what you're saying. I think at any age, whether you're 12 or you're 62, I think if you make better decisions in your daily life, you can lose weight and be healthier.
Yeah.
Because you're not at default. You're not born to be fat. Regardless if you're Hispanic, because it seems to be Hispanic people are more prone to be overweight. And I don't think that whether you're college educated or not deems you to be fat. I don't think there's any legitimate excuse for the general population to be 40% obese. Other than the fact that we eat too much and we move around too less. I'm interested in all of the contributing factors, but I'm still not convinced that there's enough excuses to make up that America is 40% obese.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're saying all those people who are obese because they eat too much and they don't work out enough.
No, I'm saying most of those people are obese because they eat too much and they don't move around enough. Most.
Okay.
Now, If you ask me to put a number on it, is it 50%, 75%, 95%? I'm not sure. The only way I could make a more definite opinion on that is to do more research.
All I'm
But
saying is I don't think it's most.
Oh my God.
What?
It's so for sure most.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
Sure. Why not? You can agree
It's
to be
America.
wrong. I don't, I'm okay with that. You think if we went, all right, tomorrow, let's say we got in the truck, we drove to Walmart. And the first 10 people we saw that were overweight or obese, not even take overweight. First 10 people we saw, we thought were obese. We went up to them, we're like, how old are you? How tall are you? How much do you weigh? We're like, yep, you're absolutely on the BMI index that you are considered overweight. If we sent those motherfuckers to boot camp, so the times they ate were controlled, what they ate was controlled, and how much physical activity was controlled, I guarantee you all of them would lose weight. If not, be considered not obese coming out of a 9-week training program. Because I would think that all of them would be, regardless of their age. Now, do I think that that's a relatively normal lifestyle? Absolutely fucking not. That would be a horrible lifestyle to live a life of basic training in the Army, right? And I'm only saying that because I've experienced it, and I literally had a transformation. When I graduated high school, I was 145 pounds. Am I that now? Absolutely fucking not. Will I ever be again? I hope fucking not. But I got up to the point where I think the most I've ever seen on the scale was 207 pounds. And I'm 5'9". I was obese. I was over 30 on the BMI index. That's not good. But it was purely my choice. My choices, which got me to that point. Now, am I cheating? Sure. I'm taking semaglutide. And that shit is badass. Therefore, now I'm not obese. And I'm working my way down to a normal weight. And I'll probably use semaglutide for a long period of time to maintain my weight. I don't mind cheating. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But when I went to basic training, I built muscle because I ate nutritious food and I was literally being physically active for the majority of my awake time. Like if I was consciously awake, I was doing something physically active, and I went in a boy, I came out a man. Like I didn't have pecs. And this is 9 weeks. We're not talking about a year. We're not talking about multiple years of training in a gym with a personal trainer and a nutritionist giving me a diet program. No, like 9 weeks of getting my ass whooped. And I'm not talking about today's basic training where they get cell phones and they worry about their feelings. But like when I went in, like you got your ass whooped and it was good for you. You learned a lot, you did a lot, and you came out a different person. You can't experience that and not come out a different person. And I came out a different person mentally and physically. Am I boring you with my stories?
No.
And if there's anybody out there that's ever experienced anything like it, I know there's probably some Marines thinking like, fucking pussy, you know, we're a Marine. But if you ever did anything like that, you would know what the hell I'm talking about. And you probably experienced the same life experience. And would I do that now? Absolutely not. You know, I enjoy life too much. But it taught me that your body is a machine. And depending on how you maintain that machine, it depends on your performance. And being that our physical, the way we look physically is a direct representation of how we maintain our machine. It's just that simple. And I'm sure I'm not up on all the medical science like maybe you are or that dude on the Joe Rogan show. but you'll never convince me that majority of people are not fat because they make bad decisions.
Okay.
Eat less, move around more, you'll look better in the mirror. And that's all I got to say about that. Now, do you have anything else on this, or you want to wrap it up?
I think we pretty much covered it all.
Yep, I think so. So, freedomweightloss.com, or better yet, freedomwlc.com. Check it out, especially if you're one of those states that Anna mentioned earlier. And the states are listed on the website. Also, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the website, you will see the prices for the different drugs. Remember that semaglutide comes in 2 forms, injectable and oral. And tirzepatide, while it may be more expensive, it's more effective. And you can do your own research and look at the studies on that. So don't take my word for it. Absolutely educate yourself. But Freedom Weight Loss, or freedomwlc.com for Freedom Weight Loss Clinic. This is actually the site. Thank you for pulling it up. You can read about this. This is all the states listed. You can request an appointment, and they will approve it. Go to your patient portal, and you'll fill out all your required documents, just like if you walked into a doctor's office. And after that, you'll have an appointment where you do a virtual visit, so basically a video chat with your provider, and they'll go over all the things that you may be curious about, all your questions. They'll inform you on all the ins and outs of taking this medication for your weight loss, and your medical history and safety and all that stuff. And you can pay, you'll get a text message and an email, however you want to do it. You pay right online, do it all from your phone, and you'll receive your medication right to your front door. That's it. So,
You want to give them a cheat code?
Yeah, thank you. Cheat code, are better known as a discount code. If you're watching this episode and you learned about freedomwlc.com from watching this, I want you to, when you fill out your onboarding paperwork, or you reach a point in one of the documents that you're going to fill out and you see a referred to by, make sure you mention just drinking problems and use discount code FREEDOM50 to get 50% off of your initial consult fee. And because if you look, initial consult is $100, you'll get it for $50. That's it. That's my commercial, or my advertisement for Freedom Weight Loss Clinic. And basically, why would you want to do that? Well, look in the mirror and ask yourself. You could still eat what you want, still drink what you want, but still lose weight. It's been referred to by some people as a bypass in a bottle. I see it as magic in a bottle, because obviously I still drink, I eat what I want, clearly not as much. You can go to Freedom Weight Loss Clinic YouTube or Facebook and be able to see a lot of frequently asked questions. I'm sure a lot is coming to mind, like what are the side effects, how long do I need to take it, and like a lot of things. But they have the resources and they're here to help. Unfortunately, they're only in 12 states now, but they're going to expand. And yeah, check it out. It's for you. Maybe you're interested. Maybe it can help you. If not, that's fine too. Anything to add, Miss Anna?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, well, all my ice has melted. And I'm thinking about ready to call it a night.
I
What do you
agree.
think? All right, well, that was a great episode.
Oops. Cheers.
Very nice.
Sorry. All right, y'all. Bye.
And I'm out. So we're out. All right.
Oh, I'm almost done. I mean, I am done too.
Okay, good. That was a damn good episode. A damn good show.